You have it, cause you're. Do you have it? Do you have yours? Do you want me to grab it?
Probably don't. No, don't worry about it.
Well, I thought we were gonna work on these like as a workshop. Do you
I'll
want
be
yours?
right here. I can look like
Okay.
this.
That needs to make sure it goes on the ballot November too.
Okay. Mike, you don't want to pull up a chair?
Sure.
I'll scooch.
You'll scooch.
I'll scooch.
We haven't heard that term in a long time.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with this shilling. Don't let
Better
me
yet, I
forget
haven't
it.
scooched in a long time either.
Alright. So, the only thing that, for time reasons, Mike and I discussed the most important things for the November ballot, and this is what we came up with. The amendments are pretty cut and dry, which are all your first ones, and everything is in the same order. It basically just removes, you can
Fees.
see, it removes the fee, and underlined is, FE is outlined by the Board of Selectmen. What was suggested to me by MMA when we were doing this, because Ben had brought up whether the cost, the fee would be reasonable for whatever the service was. And he suggested, which unfortunately I put that in all my business licensing that I'm not presenting for you here today, but they said, which shall not exceed the town's reasonable cost of administering and enforcing this ordinance, which is the only change I would make on these. I would just add that verbiage to the end. So you see an application fee as outlined in the schedule of license, permit, and application fees established annually by the Board of Selectmen, which shall not exceed the town's reasonable cost for administering and enforcing this ordinance. So, the first one is what? The massage ordinance.
Yeah.
The second one is your building permit application. And they all say the same thing, they all
The
amend it the
change,
same way.
something is a 1 year instead of a 2 year.
No, that's your extension. This is all the verbiage from the current ordinance. So this says that your building permit is still 2 years from the date of issue. I didn't change that.
Yeah, I think I wanted to.
You want to?
I wanted to look at having a 1 year building permit rather than a 2 year building permit. Tends to get lost in the, and after 2 years, people tend to lose interest in their project.
Right.
And before you know it.
So that would be a separate amendment, but I'm willing to do that. I don't want to put any more than one amendment in one because I want to present them to the voters singularly. So even though we're amending it in two different ways, I want to present them separately. So you want, right here, it says a building permit shall become void upon completion of work for which the permit was issued or 1 year from the date of issuance.
Yes.
Okay. Are we in order?
Yeah, so you're on your doggy order?
I am. Which is just, like I said, pulling the fee, putting a fee as outlined, which shall not exceed the town's reasonable cost. Same thing with disposal facility, I have a question. Oh, sure.
Hey, Mike, on this one, it says no permit shall be transferable from an application to any other person or corporation. Let's just say that I'm building a house. I'm halfway through, I got the permit and everything, and somebody comes over and they make me an offer.
Then everything would have to be changed over to the new occupant's name, all his information. He'd have to apply for a permit. And it'd have to be worked over in that office, so we'd have to do an inspection right then at that time. There's a big thing to do at this point right now. We would have to do an inspection to see at what point he is in this construction project, okay? The new owner would then have to apply for the permit to pick up and pass the torch, okay? And apply for it. That way I get all his information, and that would go into the active file that would go into my office.
Be a rare thing if somebody was to pick up the torch and do the exact same project the exact same way.
Well,
so
that's why a new permit would be.
I might like the footprint of the building, but I'm probably gonna have different ideas on the inside.
Exactly, yeah. Everything else Mandy has suggested, I agree with her.
I just don't understand why we have this waste disposal facility ordinance. Did we at one point in Lebanon have a facility like Merck, like Biddeford had Merck?
You had one trying to push in on Hebo Highway Road, I think.
So that's why we have this ordinance.
So that was an ash dump,
Yeah, what is this? When I read it, waste disposal
it's a
facility.
long time ago.
This wasn't the same thing. Yeah,
Because I pulled the fee
that
out.
would have been back in '84, I think.
I mean, this was in '88. I pulled the fee out because I tried to pull the fee out of every ordinance that we had, but I really wasn't sure if this pertained to us.
You jumped over one, yes, the dog one.
The dog one. Well, remember when I brought up the dog one last time, someone had brought up the old ordinance references a Lebanon Police Department, which we don't have.
Mhm.
So I pulled that.
I don't think I have that
I
one.
won't read that one. We'll read this one first because you're here, but then I'll go back to that one.
Oh, got it.
You have it?
I have it.
Because I tried to keep everything in order.
You did a wonderful job, I might say, too.
As I read this, though, you guys had both mentioned that where these go on the ballot, you'd both be there to answer questions from the public
Yes.
hearing.
Yes.
So part of that, I would assume, would be you would have some ideas as you're proposing these changes of what that fee schedule should be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're gonna have
We
that
can
question from the
certainly-
public. If you don't, you'll have it from me that night.
We can certainly
Yeah.
take what in format in creating a fee schedule. What I would do is check to see
Yeah.
what similar size and types of towns were doing.
Because even going through budget committee, I mean, codes has not supported itself for a long time.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's some of the stuff that, as you're looking at stuff, I'm sure you'll have some recommendations, which will help obviously cover part of the cost of that office.
But
I think it's, I may be wrong, but I don't think it's reasonable to think that the fees are gonna sustain, your whole position in there. I just don't think that's
And that would all
plausible.
depend on,
What you're charging,
right,
Yeah. no.
and the frequency,
And how
how busy it is.
Yeah.
Right
I just
now-
don't think it's reasonable to figure that out and think that's gonna be the case every year. I don't think that's reasonable.
It's not.
But, obviously we're going to miscellaneous revenue to the town, so it's gonna help on the back door, setting the tax commitment.
Right.
So, okay. But as long as you guys have some answers for that, what you'd be recommending
They,
from what your position.
the state law says you have to have a code enforcement
Yep.
office in this
Yep.
town.
Yeah, I don't know about the waste disposal facility ordinance.
I mean, like I said, I put it there because it had a fee in it, and I was just pulling all the fees. But it doesn't seem to be an ordinance that we particularly use. I mean.
What would prevent, if somebody came in, and decided to build one,
We have an ordinance, and I'm not proposing to do away with that ordinance absolutely not. I'm just wondering if I need to pull the fee out because there is a fee in there, so if one would come to town, this is the fee that would be required.
But that fee may be very old, like 1988.
True.
A lot of them are.
It is 1988, this one.
Yeah, a lot of them are that old.
True.
I would pull the fee out so that if anything ever did happen, you'd have, the board would have the right to set the fee.
Yes. All we do is recommend, the board has it.
Well, the board is the one that would set the fee
Right.
every year, and what I would suggest is the first year is gonna kind of be going on what other towns are charging, you know, how many we have, what's reasonable to the ordinance, and then we'll compare with the costs, I would say, at the end of the year and see if they worked. You know, if they need to go up or down, or if they're good.
Yeah, as this is just a workshop, we're just in the beginning stages.
We have not even
Of
looked at
this.
fees.
Right.
But I'm just saying, be
Yeah.
prepared that night.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be good.
I'll
yeah.
be here, yep. I'm right behind you, Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Pick on the new girl. Wait a minute, you're the new girl.
I told my wife that, it's a different atmosphere. I'm working with a bunch of girls, so I'm like one of the hens here. So.
Okay, so that was waste disposal.
Yep, you went to the dog ordinance now?
Well, we
You already
moved
did?
over dog.
Okay.
So now we were.
The
You should-
mass gathering?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's probably gonna be here.
There it is.
You know why? 'Cause I looked at those ones.
Right.
So, the mass gathering, there are 2 amendments I'm proposing to that. Mike and I have discussed this. The written application for permit currently is 14 days,
Right.
which had him scrambling.
It had the Board of Selectmen scrambling as well.
And that's not fair to other people who have addressed you guys previously and who have been trying to get in the code enforcement office for him to drop everything to get this done in 14 days. So we propose 30 days in advance that an application be submitted. And then the second one is for the fee to be established annually.
Yeah. We looked at a couple of different ones. I think Mandy had brought one from her town. Didn't you? Was it your town or?
No, that was building.
Okay.
That wasn't mass gathering. I take a bunch of stuff from Arundel. I love them over there.
If you don't mind me interrupting on these fees and the planning board and the subdivision ordinance, we needed a fee revision. We surveyed each of the abutting towns in Maine. And I think our fee schedule was like 10 to 20% of what every other, hadn't been changed in decades.
It
was
hasn't.
10 to 20%. So what we did is we went up to the minimum that the neighbors were charging.
Yep.
And some of these numbers have changed tremendously.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right.
Well, the
And I
problem.
think it's worth looking at even
Yeah.
for the tiniest ordinance.
The problem with the fees being in the ordinance is that every time we need to change because we're not sustaining, we need to go to a ballot. I understand reservations because people are kind of untrustworthy right now because of everything that's been happening in Lebanon, and I don't blame them a second for it, but we do need to realize that the cost is getting passed on and will be continued to be passed on. You will pay for it eventually in some way. So I would propose to let the people who are doing it pay for it at a reasonable cost.
Hold on. There we go. Got it.
Okay, this is the special amusement, which again just removes the fee. I do think special amusement's pretty recent, so I don't foresee that changing, but I do think for the purpose of a fee schedule, it should be pulled. Do you have a copy of the code enforcement, the building ordinance on you, perhaps?
On me? Yeah, I carry that out.
Right here.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the outdoor festivals? I was gonna wait for Mike because he's got some stuff on that too. I did talk to Dan today too. Briefly. There you go. Just in case you want.
Thanks, I think.
I think.
Did you see Rochester's latest one yesterday?
No, what was that?
Can't transfer anything into a car that's sitting on a public way. You can't
Nothing
transfer
through the window.
panhandling one, nothing through the window. So toll booths are free now, so that's cool.
Yeah,
What
except they do it electronically.
Drive-through.
Yeah.
What is McDonald's going to do without the
Well,
drive-through
Easy Pass,
window?
everything.
That, that was a big problem. In fact, it was just this
That's the hard
weekend.
one.
They were right on exit 15, where Home Depot is, and there was a panhandler right there, right on
Right
the
at the end of the ramp. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I saw him.
I'm just joking, 'cause that's not an easy issue to address.
No,
But
I'd be interested to see if that
I'm
doesn't
gonna paint yourself in a
end
corner
up
somewhere.
in court somewhere.
Well,
because
they've tried 3
Yeah.
different
panhandling,
ordinances.
and they've been
Then they
But I
keep.
read it and I kind
Yeah.
of chuckled. I said to my wife, "Oop, no tolls." Easy pass, I guess.
Get rid of Easy Pass,
Yeah.
and then they're free.
Easy panhandle.
No Dunkin' Donuts. I think I'd
I just
pass
wanted to
away.
make sure there was no electrical mentioned.
That's
because
private
you were-
property, so that's
you were
okay.
concerned
Oh,
about
okay.
And we're gonna talk about,
But I just wanted to have
Sure.
this on hand.
Yeah.
We'll just finish with the outdoor festivals, because that was kind of a big one that happened recently that. Correct.
sorry, in there,
Yeah. So events and outdoor festivals, this one would be an ordinance that, so mass gathering is 500 people for 5 hours or more.
This is a new proposal.
This is a new proposal. It would be for 250 people, but less than 500 for 5 hours or more. So once you hit 500 people for 5 hours or more, then you will refer to the current mass gathering ordinance. 250 people is still a lot of people in one place at one time.
Yeah.
You're still utilizing all of the town services. There should still be certain things that are required to be in place if you're gonna have that many people in one place at one time. That's basically what this is. I obviously want you guys to read this extensively because it's an ordinance that I'm proposing to put on the ballot. And we can't make any changes to ordinances once we propose them, so it really needs to be spot on. Mike, you had said
Yeah, the explanation will give the current ordinance, and we gotta lay it out specifically, the changes that we wanna make, and the reason why we think the change is needed.
Mike, you said you were gonna look at section C, subsection, section 3, subsection C.
Can I just ask a real quick question, just for so that I know the so there would still be a mass gathering permit
Correct.
that would be for 500 people or over for 5 hours or more.
Correct.
This is a separate permit.
Correct.
What is this one called?
It's the events and outdoor festivals, which would be for 250 people or more, but less than 500 people
Right,
for
otherwise
5
that
hours.
was the mass gathering, we give it.
It's gonna be, we propose to use the same application as the mass gathering.
Thank you.
It's like it'll be like a general application, okay? It'll be a checklist, what applies, what doesn't.
Correct. This just basically says if you're gonna have 250 people or more in the town of Lebanon, you need some sort of permit. we will determine once you fill out the application whether it's gonna be a mass gathering permit or an outdoor festival and event permit. And that will be determined based on the amount of people.
It's the wife. Sorry. So, yeah, the reason why I wanna look at this was because of the tour facilities.
Correct.
They wanted, not so much the other stuff there, it's
See, this is
for
what-
they need to have one toilet facility for a number of people. I think the one they have wasn't adequate enough. They needed to have more, I think they wanted to have 10, we recommended 15, I think it was 14 and 15. So I'm still working on that,
You're still working on C?
yes.
Okay. I spoke with Dan about E, because like a lot of this is cut and paste and then I'm fixing it for Lebanon, and so I wanted to speak with the people that it affects.
Well, does paramedic fill in for doctor in that one? That
He
case?
told me to just remove doctor. He
Yes.
says, first aid facility shall be provided on the grounds with at least one ambulance in attendance and one doctor for each 1,000 persons to be expected to attend. I asked Dan about that line because I wasn't sure about any of it. He said a first aid facility should be provided, most definitely,
But not by the town.
but not by the town. And then it could be one ambulance, but it would be an ambulance from an outside service.
So
Yes.
that needs to go in here along with that.
Correct. So I kind of made little jotty notes, and I'll fix that. I just spoke to him today about it.
Okay.
So we need to make sure that it says outside service. He told me to scratch off doctor and just say either a first aid facility or an ambulance from an outside service. And he suggests that it should be for each 500 persons expected to attend and not for 1,000. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Why would the ambulance have to be from an outside service?
Because he doesn't want to
Taxpayer.
tie up the town ambulance if we should get a call because they're at a festival just sitting there.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Especially when you're joined in.
Can't expend public.
Right.
Exactly.
Anything.
For a
Any
private
purpose.
festival or.
Right.
Especially if you're involved in mutual aid. And
Correct.
there are plenty of private ambulance services, everyone in
Absolutely.
Summers
Oh,
work.
sure, yeah. And that all gets paid for by whoever is having.
Whomever is holding the
Correct.
event.
Yeah,
Whoever's holding the event.
So,
That's the one thing that I'd like to see it written in on any of that stuff.
yeah,
Make that very plain.
like I said, I just jotted those down today because he stopped in and I said, come here, look at this for me.
because someone's making a profit on this, and if you see the town of Lebanon written on the side of a vehicle, it gets too sticky.
Yeah, that's a no-no.
No
The thing
matter-
I really wanted the selectmen to look at would be in section 4, subsection A. In the mass gathering ordinance, it requires some sort of liability insurance.
And a bond.
I'm not there yet, I'm still way up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, Sam just stopped you. I
Okay.
recommend a change on section 2, part A.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the wording, it just didn't flow to me, but maybe I'm wrong. Last part of the sentence, without first producing from the municipal officers a license prior to the event. To me, it made more sense with without first receiving from the municipal officers a license prior to the event.
Okay.
Great. Good catch.
Three, I'm finding a little confusing,
Okay.
just in the wording, so I'm just looking at that, but I don't mean to slow you guys
Section
down,
3?
but.
No, you're fine. I just was going over highlighted areas.
That's why it's called a workshop.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of.
I don't like the first sentence.
No license shall be granted by the municipal officers unless the applicant satisfies the municipal officers that the following facilities have or will be available for such event in the area to be used, and no such person shall hold such an event unless such facilities are available.
I understand it, but can we chop that down so we get the same point across with a whole lot fewer words?
Okay, just right, no.
Okay.
Done. Well, I can
I'll just leave it wordy.
just
Yeah, it is,
I mean, that's why I'm gonna put all these
there are a
wordy.
few things in here that are kind of contradicting, not contradicting, they repeat themselves, like
redundant,
B
but
and C.
some of them have to.
Sometimes, yeah.
latrine facilities.
Yeah.
And then see, it's right there again, at each toilet facility.
There shall be hand washing facilities.
Right.
But
So do you
I
want to
think
get
Mike's
rid of
point is
C
to
at all?
call them the same thing.
Yeah.
I would, it's either a latrine facility or a toilet facility.
Right. It just, you know, you're mentioning it twice, maybe just mentioning it once. And then it goes on B to say separate male and female facilities. I've never seen that before. It's either occupied or not occupied, because we're talking about
Nowadays.
outside.
Now it is, yeah.
But if it's a permanent structure, then it can be a male and a female.
So you want me to get rid of male and female?
Yep.
Some
Now-
places you go
But it
have
says to
both.
conform to, but I think.
That's plumbing code. That's not the
Right,
hand washing.
so it looks like that maybe this is for a permanent facility and not a, Johnny, if you will. Johnny's.
So no separate male and female, but facilities shall conform to the plumbing code. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah,
Even though it's outdoor?
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. That's your line.
I'll put a note as well, having ripped apart the mass gathering twice, that if we're gonna address the number of containers versus the number of people, we
Yeah.
probably also should address ADA compliance on that as well, you know, which is
Good point.
Yes.
very important.
Well, I can put that in B since I just ripped a line out. There's space in there now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right answer on that might be either, because I mean, if you're having one for every 50, so I gotta have two for 100. You don't want everyone to be an ADA. You don't need to be.
No,
No.
But you'd have to figure out how many.
It would be based upon a percentage.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe 2% of your population would be ADA. It doesn't have to be in a wheelchair. It could be on crutches. They
Correct.
could be. They
Yeah,
could
but
even
then-
be challenged.
You're talking porta potties.
Right.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
mean, they are specifically made for a wheelchair to go in. I mean, they're
Yeah,
the big ones,
yeah.
you know.
Right.
So
You mean it doesn't only have to be?
when I've had conversations with the Lebanon Festival chair, at times I've mentioned that we should have an ADA. Taping her. Ruined my joke.
I don't
You guys are
know.
taping each other.
I just gotta come here and I was like, what?
Oh. Okay.
Everything else looks pretty good.
So we're talking ADA compliance.
Yeah.
I can throw that into B. Now C is still, it's hand washing. It's not it's
But they're pretty popular now. I mean, every time you turn around at any
Hand
carnival,
sanitizer.
it's like
yeah.
done. You don't even
You
need
usually
a
have the
paper.
porta potties.
Yeah, you don't
Should
even
we
have
just-
to have a.
Remove C and just add something about hand sanitizer or hand washing facility shall be, and just put it all into one. The ADA compliance, the hand washing, and or the hand sanitizer.
Well, hand sanitizer, hand washing. I very seldom see hand washing.
Well, I can put and or.
Okay.
They can have a hand washing if they want. They're probably just gonna buy antiseptic, but
Yeah.
okay, so. Sorry, I keep turning it when I'm writing.
D, are you talking about trash cans?
Mhm. Correct.
Issue I have with that is that even with, again, going back to experience with the festival that we just had, Waste Management provides cardboard, recycled bins, and they're not 2 foot by 2 foot, and they're made specifically for the cans and specifically for, I mean, they're probably only
So we'll just
18
get
by
rid of-
18,
or just add a note in
2
there.
feet's big, that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I can put,
Add a note about the waste management size.
you wanna allow cardboard?
Conventional often works well.
What's that?
Using the word conventional for stuff like that always works well too.
A lot of times, that's what most containers are, unless you're trying to contain liquid waste.
Right. And this is not,
But you're dealing with the public. They will tear that word up. That's why we're trying to write these
Well,
to be specific.
yeah, it's quite specific. Everything that I've run into when I was, cutting and pasting this together, which is why I really want everyone to critique it. Does the 2 feet space bother you?
For parking.
No, I'm still on D. I don't know where you guys went.
Moving on.
You leave me in the dust.
We done yet?
About if that was to say, on D, adequate containers with suitable plastic bags shall be spaced in the area to take care of
Okay.
solid waste.
Yeah.
Cause who's reviewing this? Who's gonna review this first? I mean, right, currently, the mass gathering one comes to you, the application comes to you, then you present it to the board.
Correct, yeah.
So is that still gonna be the same, I
Yes,
assume?
yes.
I would assume.
So I mean, you could ask questions more specific at that point, like what are you using, type of thing.
Exactly, yeah. Then present to the board.
And you don't care about the 2 feet space.
No. Height of at least 2 feet and 2 foot diameter. Diameter of at least 2 feet.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big container.
And we can still leave 1 container for each reasonably expected 50 persons.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. How about cups and plates also?
Correct. I mean, I think that that's more than fair, 1 container for 50 people.
Actually, a lot of people for one.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
For one of those small ones like they had at the festival anyway. If you had a big trash bucket, maybe for 50 people, but
Okay, so I got 499 people attending. I have to have 748.5 gallons of water.
Oh, jeez, you're skipping again.
I'm back at
I
A.
thought you were talking about the trash can.
I'm done with that, I wrote it already.
I thought we were talking about if 50 persons is okay for one trash can.
Works for me.
Okay. Well, now we'll go back to it.
Now I'm just trying to figure out where I'm gonna get rid of these 748 empty gallons of water. Now I need, no, I'm just kidding. I don't need to recycle that. No, I know that's the standard.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I was just kinda
Recycle
curious.
bins make very nice water balloons.
This is drinkable water, correct?
Yeah.
are you back
So
at
why
A?
wouldn't it be, yeah, we're back at A again. So why wouldn't it just be bottled water? It talks about chlorinating it on
Yeah,
it,
this is
and
old.
then it meets,
It is.
Old wording.
yeah,
You can
it's
tell.
0.5 parts per million. Actually, right now, the standard is 3 parts per million.
Okay.
So it should maybe mention bottled water.
That's where I was kinda heading with this, 'cause
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking in my head.
And current standards.
I was like, there must be a code that I can refer to as amended from time to time.
I mean, that's 5,988 bottles of 16-ounce water.
It's a lot of water.
That's almost 6,000 bottles of water that's gotta be on site.
That'd do Lebanon.
That's a lot of water.
There
What,
must be a state code out there somewhere that tells you
That I
what
can
water
refer
quality
to.
has to be for
Yes.
gathering.
Health and Human Services has sets of regs on all this stuff, on the water stuff.
Who does that?
Health and Human Services.
Okay. So that's probably the direction you need to go to get
Public
some of this
water
Well,
wording.
I think where I was going with this is to
Supply,
get away from measuring our water quality at these places.
right,
Right.
And let the manufacturer bottled water people, that's their standards, not,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
Well, yeah, 'cause I mean, what are you providing here? You know, I'm not
Right.
gonna.
Cut down the amount of, I mean, that's a lot of water to gather.
So-
6,000 bottles.
what is your suggestion for the amount of water now? I thought there were requirements. X amount must be
Let's work on
present
it.
for X
Yeah,
amount.
let's work on it. Let's find out about that. I think, to regulate the quality of water that's old.
Yeah, we
Let's
can get rid
scratch
of
that.
that, but we still need to know
And
how
a
much
half
is
gallon per day
required.
per person, we need to work on
One
that.
thing would be, okay, so this is what I'm working through my head. I'm gonna have 250 people at my house, which we're seeing in town, okay? So what kind of water are they using and providing? Well water? Then-
Right.
Then they need to provide the water test,
Right, yes,
you know? So it may be a two-part thing that you wanna look at.
yeah, good idea.
Do you wanna put A 1 and 2?
Yeah.
This is gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Require
my
a
little-
test, yeah, because
Yeah, and then,
Scribble
and
notes.
you're
then
gonna,
it
you're
only
gonna
says.
ask people that have parties of 50 to make sure that their water's tested before they can have a
No.
party. They're not
No.
gonna go for
250.
that.
And
No,
coming out of a
250
well,
or
it
more.
only says chlorine. Usually there's iron, manganese, and this is a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm.
And it can be tested right there on site. It doesn't have to go to an analytical lab.
Little strip.
We wanna see the results though.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I see they got all kinds of new kits that you can, I haven't used any of them, I don't know if you have, but yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't used
yeah.
them.
So we'll work on that one. Me and Mandy will work on that one.
Mhm. I have A1 will be bottles and amount, and A2 will be the quality.
If other than bottled water.
Right.
There's water right out of a well in this whole area, and I don't mean just Lebanon, I mean this whole area is bad.
What do you mean?
Unless you're from Lebanon, I'm sorry.
They keep telling me it's in the water, but you know.
Are you still trying to fix that sentence?
I will.
Does parking look okay? And we compared this with the current ordinance. Current ordinance says, 1 car space with adequate access for each 4 persons expected to attend. We upped it to 5 because 5 people can fit in a car.
See, E doesn't make sense on your 1,000 persons to attend, cause you're saying
Yeah,
it's
no.
250 to, did we already do that?
Well, I spoke with Dan this morning, since he's versed in that. He suggested for each 500 persons expected to attend. Are you suggesting that we go down to 250? Because that would require 2 ambulances or 2 first aid stations for 500 persons. Now keep in mind, if they have over 250, but less than for 5 hours, they would still need this permit. So they could have 700 people for 4 hours. And
This
they wouldn't
doesn't
hit
have a
that
time
mass
limit.
gathering, no.
So, I mean, yeah, that's what I
So
mean.
this would be
This would be effective for the 250 to 499. After that, you trigger.
250 to 700, or however many if it's less than 5 hours.
Where did I miss the 700?
I'm just saying, and that was an example.
It's less
Mass
than 5.
gathering, less than 500 people for 5 hours.
I understand.
That's the mass gathering. So if they have 700 people for 4 hours, technically they didn't hit the mass gathering,
But they'd have to have this.
still would hit
Okay.
this.
Following. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not sure how reasonable it is to have 2 first aid facilities for 500 people. I think
Should you,
1 is sufficient for 500 people.
should you have some sort of a distance factor in there? As, you know, how far the people are spread out?
And then
I
just
didn't even consider that.
make an
Say
example
this
is
situation like a large field.
that Tri-City Arena over there, they have 1. And I mean, sometimes they have quite a few people attending, like that barbecue
Right.
festival they had over there. They have 1, but they require it to have like a red, tent over the
Finding,
top of it, and they have the flags flying that say emergency, so that, and they had quite, at that barbecue festival, they had quite a few people, but they have 1, and it's right at the entrance, so that people identify it coming into,
Correct, that's good.
you know.
Yeah, I don't think lowering that 500 number is necessary.
No, if it doesn't fall under mass gathering, it falls under this one right
Correct.
here. Kind of covering yourselves on every angle.
Well, that's the purpose. It
Yeah.
was, it obviously seems to be of concern, so. Are you looking at A on 4?
I managed to walk through on that. Yeah, and I'm jumping around a little bit. I got 50 vehicles if I got 5 people in a car, which is probably not accurate. You're probably only gonna have, most you'll have 4 in a car nowadays. So even with that, 250. Sorry. Yeah, so it's still giving me 63 vehicles, 62 and a half per 1 attendant. That's a lot of cars for 1 attendant. I'm just wondering if we should, that should be bumped up,
Oh, you mean that,
parking attendants.
okay, I see what you're saying.
Even if it's bumped at 2.
2 attendants for each reasonably expected 250?
That means you get 4 for 500.
Correct.
I think that's a little better.
Yeah, I think so too. Sometimes when you look at the numbers, they cities have ran into a light, like, car, and then there's 5 in a car, or like you said, more reasonable 4
Yeah.
in a car. You need me?
Worse is if there's 2. You got a lot more vehicles.
Right.
I didn't. Are they here? Can you excuse me just for 1 minute? This will just take 1 minute. Hola.
I wanna put in here.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Mandy, when you were talking about they had to put the application in 30 days prior, I know that recently there were a couple of different things where the applications were actually in on time, but there were requirements that they did not turn in, like for example insurance, until like 15
Very
hours before the event.
Last minute. That's one thing that's gonna have to, that, like, see, I'm first contact, so
Mhm.
that's one thing that's gonna have to be said out loud. We
Mhm.
don't wanna get caught up in another mass gathering, not catastrophe. It went off well,
Mhm.
but not get into the mess we did then. So the 30-day stands, need to have all the
It's a
proper
neighbor notification
documentation
form,
and
which I'm
everything in
suggesting.
place
Not
30
that you're getting
days.
permission,
In
just
advance.
In
tell
advance.
the neighbors that
So they
this
come
is
in 60
happening,
days in
and
advance.
then
That gives
have
them
something
30
signed
days.
that says
But
we
it needs to
told
be to
them.
us
Complete.
complete. 30
Otherwise,
days.
it's good. I mean, I can see if there's
Otherwise,
one or
kick
two things that need to be
You can
fixed and
put
they're done right away,
refuse
but
to sign
but
from
that
the
yeah, that
building.
was my
Otherwise, the
question.
option is to kick it.
That's
See,
what
Right.
and
Can't
maybe
happen.
we should include that.
It was made very clear, and we're gonna make it
If
clear.
someone should refuse
30
to
days
sign
is
the permit.
standing.
Mm.
Also, and this is something else I wanna mention too. Oh, here it goes. The fellow who was hired to clean up the festival is an independent contractor.
Which one we talked, the
Yeah, over here, the mass
Yeah.
gathering.
Go Deep Mud there,
Right.
Yeah, prove it, yeah.
Right, not a problem, but here's where I think it's borderline theft of services. He's using the town facilities to dump all of the garbage that he takes.
Yep.
Borderline, I'll say it again, borderline theft of services. Working the system, in other words.
Yep, yep.
So that's something that has to be looked at too.
Because we don't charge at the transfer station, which I was just made aware of. You don't charge at the transfer station and only for certain items, correct?
Correct.
But if it's a commercial hauler, it should be.
Because a lot of
Situation
places
is
go
when you've got a
every-
festival privately being funded, I mean, they're receiving the monies from it, they're
That's
paying someone to
right.
do it, but it's clogging our system up.
Correct.
That's right,
And it's,
So-
those services are,
yeah.
that should
They're
be
not-
considered in the reasonable cost of administering
Exactly.
and enforcing this
Which
ordinance.
may be an extra container that needs to be dropped when we know those things are going. Or
Charged for accordingly.
at minimum, yeah.
So we should add that.
And we can put that on the application
Yeah,
as a,
'Cause
I mean-
you're drawing people from outside this community. and that's-
Rubbish
trash.
is measured commonly in yards, just for your information.
okay, yeah, it is.
As a homeowner, I can go in order from Waste Management. I mean, if I give them 30 days, they can drop a container right at my residence. So why wouldn't you just have them contact an outside waste facility and have their own dumpster right there? There's no reason for them to be taking it to our transfer station.
They should be responsible for their own mess, in
Mhm.
other words.
I agree.
You make a mess, you pay to clean it up,
okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, we should incorporate that in A under section 4, where we list some of the waste facilities.
Okay, so as I'm chewing, section 3, which I don't like that first sentence,
Yes,
as I
I
already
know.
said. Alright, so I'm coming in, and I don't have to do any, I don't have to give you any insurance, because the way it's worded is, as long as I do the following, A through F, you will, shall be granted a license. So what I don't like part of that, now as more I'm chewing on it, is that that's kind of part of the qualifications. We need to get rid of shall be granted. You just guaranteed me
It
you're
says
granted.
no license shall be granted. It doesn't say a license shall be granted if these things are met.
Unless the
It
applicant
says
satisfies
no
that the following
license.
facilities will be available, which your insurance is a separate section than
Yeah.
the following facilities. So I want to clean that up.
Okay, but it doesn't say a license shall be granted if these are met. It says no license shall be granted unless they satisfy these.
You're implying the same thing.
I
It,
think it's the same thing, isn't
it,
it?
it, it could be fought that way. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But it is.
That's why I want to clean up.
It's
Get rid of
different.
the argument.
Yeah.
But
How about
I want to
Maine?
reword that too, that I don't want to put, I started right at shall be reviewed. Nope, I don't want even shall review if you provides, I want it all as one packet, that's what you want, all in
right.
one packet,
That's
so we
right.
need to reword that, so that's, you know.
That's when it gets reviewed. When I receive,
Let's get away from the whole license
Well,
talk
it says
on here.
prior to the issuance of a license and the holding of an event, the applicant shall furnish
You're already saying it's required facilities,
blah blah blah.
so let's get away from the license conversation.
How about we'll just call it? We'll just say
Required facilities, the following facilities are required.
the applicant must satisfy the following facilities will be available. Period.
For such an event here to be used. Yep, I like that. Start that right there. Yep.
Oh. Okay.
Must provide to the municipal officer's satisfaction that the following facilities will be available for such event in the area to be used, and no such person shall hold such an event unless such facilities are available.
And then we just took the license right out.
Fixed.
See, all you had to do was cut the sentence in half.
Ta-da!
You said it was wordy. I'm gonna skip on you this time. To section 4B. It says the applicant shall file with the application adequate proof that he or she has authority from any landowner to use the property if it is not their own. And I wanted to put in here that they shall furnish a neighbor notification form from any abutters. This form is not permission to hold the event. This form is simply notifying your neighbors that you're holding the event.
And the neighbor acknowledging.
And
that
the
they've
neighbor
been
acknowledging
notified.
that they have been notified. Regardless if they like it or not, unfortunately, what we need to know is that they let their neighbors know.
yeah.
What are you requiring a return receipt?
We
Showing
would
that they-
have a neighbor notification form that we would hand them when we handed them the application, and that would also be required to be returned signed.
So what do? Go knock on their neighbor's door?
Yes, and tell them that they're holding an event and get a signature.
The best way to do it is through the mail
Do a mail.
with a return
Yeah.
receipt,
Requested.
and that they have to provide you the cards saying that those,
And if they don't
Certified.
receive it back, then
Because-
it's okay as far
because then you have on record all those little cards.
Yeah.
So this is a good time, seems we still have half an hour to discuss this before the next, and
Mhm.
we're there. It's a good time probably to read this formal complaint that came in.
Okay.
And so it kind of goes along with
What
was
we're doing
addressed to
here?
the board. Yep, I think it does. And this is a good reason why you're doing what you're doing.
Correct.
Okay, this is a formal complaint against the town of Lebanon, the Board of Selectmen, town of Lebanon, Maine, individuals Royce Heath, Paul Netto Sr., and Benjamin Thompson. Dear sirs, I am writing to make a formal complaint against the town of Lebanon, the town of Lebanon Board of Selectmen, individually, so named above. Your office failed to provide the neighborhood located on Center Road and Shapley Roads with appropriate information prior to and during respect and regard for the neighbors' well-being and adequate protection regarding the medical marijuana festival from Friday, August 21st, held from Friday, August 21st, 2015 through Sunday, August 23rd, 2015. My complaint is that you should have taken the neighborhood's previous multiple complaints concerning the medical marijuana festival last year much more seriously than you did. Appropriate legal ordinance papers were created to be considered by voters on the ballot, which were totally ignored. He put all the responsibility of any type of appropriate proactive action entirely on the citizens. He requested that the residents confront the problems by compiling signatures instead of the selectmen directly addressing the individual putting on the festival and related festival issues. The town selectmen have showed little to no attention regarding the neighborhood's concerns. The end result of this callousness is that the local residents have lost even more confidence in their town leadership and want nothing to do with their local government. Most decent homeowners have decided the only way to contend with a long-term problem is to sell their homes and move out of Lebanon, since nothing is going to change. You granted permission to have the festival again this year, even being aware of the consequences of last year's fiasco. Again, this was not pursued to the town. We, heard about it, but it was nothing formal. This will address these issues, some of these issues.
Well, again,
But it was nothing that we were formally made aware of or had any control over.
we don't even still.
We don't have the jurisdiction to do that.
Right.
We can't deny it if these conditions are met and the conditions
Sure.
of the mass gathering ordinance are met, unless we have an ordinance that states no medical marijuana festivals shall happen in Lebanon.
Right.
We can't. We can't.
Right. So, but it's kind of addressing some of the concerns that at least people will be
This does-
notified. So,
Right.
no one in the affected neighborhood was notified either by written letter and/or personal visits by your office. The event was going to be taking place. The selectmen should have come to the neighborhood and spoke with residents one-on-one about the concerns regarding the festival before granting permission. Again, some neighbors had to rearrange their lives to accommodate the events, while those with children had to make special arrangements for their kids' safety to not be around the festival at all. The individual holding the festival violated the agreement that she made with your office to have this year's festival. There were many more visitors than last year, so traffic was busier and noisier. The loud music aggravated the dogs to continuous response barking. The higher above state law mandated noise levels decibels caused my house windows to vibrate for hours. Then it goes on and talks about noise levels exceeding past the 12 o'clock curfew that we had requested. Again, it was a request. That's all we can do. I mean, we have no control over what's going on there. If they don't trigger the mass
How
gathering.
many signatures, or is it anonymous?
It's a one signature.
Well, perhaps we can address noise level in this ordinance.
Yeah, well, what
Or
was
time,
told to this
rather.
individual and a group that came in last year was to come back to the board with a list of names to form a committee to address the issues that were there.
That would be wonderful.
That didn't happen. It ended up being husband-wife team that drew up a lot of individual ordinances that, no, they didn't get it to the ballot because you don't have, at that point, a
You need
committee
signatures,
approval,
right.
didn't go through the board,
They
and
used
you
to
didn't have
like
213
used to
signatures.
Appointing an advisory board
17.
anyway.
Absolutely. So there's a procedure that should have been followed and wasn't. But again, I think a lot of the issues, this will help address some of these issues,
Some
not
of them.
all, but.
But a lot of that can be tackled at a later date as
Yep.
well. So some will be addressed now and some will be addressed later.
So again, I think going to that, certified letter would be the way to go.
Yeah, that's,
So that there's
Yes.
proof, and they need to provide proof to us that it's happened.
And not just one signature.
And it shouldn't be up to anybody in this office to have to, we'll charge the fee and we'll get it done. No, we got other things we need to do.
yes, you need to provide us with
Can I
that.
make you a suggestion? When they turn in their packet, along with their insurance and along with their proof that they have toilet, that is when they should be turning in those signature cards. Like,
Correct.
okay, so that now they have to give you that 30 days in advance. So
Every-
that proves to you that their neighbors have 30 days advance notice, which gives their neighbors 30 days to come in here and work with code enforcement and work with Board of Selectmen as to, reasonable curfew times or reasonable thing or whatever complaints they have from last year or.
Oh, good.
What is the curfew time anyway? Do
There
we
is-
even have one?
No.
I did put in section 2B, an application must be submitted to code enforcement 30 days before the event I can't talk today. Said application shall include a neighbor notification form.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
so you
where I
need
can
to
put
get the card.
certified
Yeah.
seat. So I'll add that in there.
That's been pretty loud with the window shaking.
I always.
Yeah, I live near the lake, fireworks season.
On my house.
That's all year round, isn't it?
Pretty close.
On my house.
Yeah. It was funny, I went over a residence and doing an inspection, I saw these little cardboard, little things, circles, and I seen them all over Ben's driveway, and I was like, it's covered, it's like, is this something, another code that I didn't know about? And I happened to be over another one inspecting it, and I going, what are those? And he goes, fireworks, and then I remember seeing on the side.
He's guilty.